An election bombshell this morning, publishing tax return data for President Donald Trump. Our chief foreign correspondent Philip Williams has more from Washington.
According to the New York Times, not according to the president, his wealth, well, he's not as wealthy as we thought. He's paid virtually no tax for many years. In fact, they say that he's paid $750 US, about $1,000 tax in the first year he was the president, that he has $420 million in loans outstanding that will come due over the next 4 years, and basically that he's not quite the mega rich man that he says he is, and that his companies owe a lot of money, and there's a lot of expenses that have been claimed that are being disputed, including, we believe, $70,000 for hairstyling. But he's basically fought back and said that report is completely fake news, as he's wont to say, and that he's actually paid a lot of money in state taxes, but he hasn't really said exactly what he has paid. He's always said that because there's a dispute with the IRS, that he can't reveal what what he has or hasn't paid.
It's totally fake news, made up, fake. We went through the same stories. You could have asked me the same questions 4 years ago. I had to litigate this and talk about it. Totally fake news. No, actually, I paid tax, and you'll see that as soon as my tax returns. It's under audit.
And no doubt the president will say this is a conspiracy. He's had a go at the New York Times. Said they haven't written a positive thing about him since he became president. So he's really discrediting this report. The New York Times is protecting its sources, it says, so can't reveal the actual paperwork itself, because that would reveal where it came from, apparently. And so we can't independently check that. And that will be to their detriment. No doubt the president will use that as further evidence that they're not telling the truth. But look, it's a very, very big story to run, certainly one that you would hope they have researched very, very carefully. And it's certainly, if it's true, reveals that the president is not quite the multi-billionaire that he makes out to be. And that, of course, for Donald Trump would be something of a come down. He wouldn't like that image. But, of course, we have to balance that out on the other side by saying that the president says it's a load of rubbish. And although, of course, he isn't exactly spelling out what is the truth.
Well, firefighters in the US state of California are battling a fast-moving bushfire north of San Francisco. The grass fire broke out in Napa County this weekend, and authorities have issued evacuation orders. The west coast of the US has been hit by an unprecedented number of catastrophic bushfires this month, which killed dozens of people and destroyed entire towns. Well, given the Northern Territory's low record of COVID cases, the NT government is now planning for 70 international students to be flown to Darwin from Singapore next month. It says an agreement is in place with the federal government, and the Territory's chief health officer has also signed off on the plan.
Sunny Lu is studying to be a teacher and made it back to Darwin after spending Chinese New Year with her family back home in China earlier this year.
But luckily I was able to get in and start back at my course on time.
One of Sunny's friends who hoped to do further study in Darwin wasn't so lucky.
So I found a job in my hometown as an English teacher here. So I've been working for 1 year since I came back. But I'm still want to try to finish my master degree in Darwin.
A lot of my friends actually are stuck in China or elsewhere overseas, and it has been very anxious for them because they don't know when they can be back and how they're going to finish their studies.
The Northern Territory Government and Charles Darwin University have confirmed they're working with the federal government to fly 70 international students into Darwin via Singapore in late October. Students are keen for more information about the deal.
We know that there is demand, pent-up demand for international students to come back into this country, full stop. And certainly in the Territory, we're the safest and we're the best.
The two things, the confirmed information about the date and also the cost.
Time away from Darwin has meant more family time for some students. And although many will be keen to return, they may not be in a rush, with the current semester almost over.
I was living away from my parents, and now there's an opportunity for me to stay a long time with them. So I feel quite happy and satisfactory with them, and they are happy too.
If the students do come, they want to make sure there's support for them in Darwin.
We are paying a lot of money and spending a lot of money while studying in Australia, but we're not entitled to a lot of the support from the government and the university.
At the present, students are facing financial hardships and lack of support from their family members, as their families at home are also affected due to the crisis.
It's not yet clear who will foot the bill for the students' arrival, whether students will pay for their flights and the university will pick up the quarantine cost of about $175,000. Felicity James, ABC News.
Unions are accusing Qantas of using the cover of the pandemic to outsource its ground handling operations. The airline says it'll save hundreds of millions of dollars at a precarious time for the industry. But the timing may well mean workers' pay will be cut if they take a job at another company.
Qantas ground worker Nick Bennett fears he's about to have a lot more time on his hands.
I'm sort of waiting round, turning up for work, and it's like waiting for the axe to fall.
After 2 decades at the airline, he could be replaced. Qantas wants to outsource ground operations, including baggage handling and cabin cleaning at 11 Australian airports, where it's currently done in-house. The company says it could save $100 million a year, but that means up to 2,500 jobs would go.
Sack Alan Joyce! Sack Alan Joyce!
The union says it's a decision taken under the cover of COVID.
Why has the decision been made when this work still needs to be done?
That work could be picked up by specialty ground handling firms. The law offers some protections for workers who change from one company to another after outsourcing. The pay and conditions can transfer, but there's a time limit.
If there's longer than a 3-month gap, then there isn't a transfer of business, and the new employer is not obliged to observe the same terms and conditions.
A company taking on that work would normally need workers within 3 months, but with air travel dramatically reduced, it may be able to wait that out and avoid paying the same wages. Qantas denies it's using the pandemic shutdown as an opportunity to outsource and says it's making savings across the business, including axing its sponsorship deal with the Wallabies. Workers are anxious about what their futures hold.
Honestly, I'm very devastated. I've actually never thought that we would come to this stage very quickly and due to COVID.
The unions have taken Qantas to the Fair Work Commission and say they will pursue other legal options. Stephanie Chalmers, ABC News.
Alex de Minaur has made an early exit from the French Open in Paris. The US Open